At 32, I ended up taking in a broke college boy. Passing by the university, I saw Gavin holding a girl close. His eyes were red, full of hurt and restraint. Don't hate me for being dirty. A full-blown sugar baby arrangement. And yet, somehow it looked like I was the one who dirted Gavin. If he feels dirty, there are plenty who wouldn't mind. I exhaled smoke, turned to the fake-looking blonde college boy walking by, and said, "Ask him if he wants to call me mommy." Sawyer was brought to my office that afternoon. Sunlight streamed through the 32nd floor windows, landing on his Balenciaga t-shirt, Yohji Yamamoto pants, and Louis Vuitton shoes. Fake. All fake. But it didn't matter, he had a good-looking face. Unlike Gavin, whose looks were cool and aloof, with an air of unyielding pride, Sawyer looked like a plastic surgery template from a tech catalog. Delicate, cheap, and just a little tacky. But I'd had too much of the plain stuff. I wanted something wild today. After all, they're all here to perform, why pick someone unwilling? The moment he spoke, I knew I'd chosen right. "I heard you want to be my mom? Do you want me to call you that directly?" Perfect. Straight to the point. But I wasn't going to play along. I could feel that today, he was going to make me launch his career. Tomorrow, he'd want me to find him a lead role. The day after, the gossip about our arrangement would surface, and he'd want me to bury it. Delicious, absolutely delicious. I ignored him and flipped through the materials Tessa had sent me. He came from a small city in County 18, not poor, with a family far better off than Gavin's drunken dad and gambling mom. Grades were average, still worse than Gavin, but he was 5 centimeters taller than Gavin. I glanced up at him, he smiled, showing 8 teeth. Handsome, yes, but a little sycophantic. I pursed my lips, slightly disgusted. "How many have you been with? Guys? Girls?" Sawyer was completely unfazed, showing no hint of embarrassment. "Just you." "Nonsense." I said, "Tessa will take you to the hospital for a full checkup. If everything's fine, come see me in a week." "Got it, sis." He left, cheerful as ever. As he turned, I caught sight of his shapely rear. I paused for 2 seconds, wondering if he had padding. A week later, Sawyer hadn't shown up yet, but I ran into Gavin first. He wore a faded white shirt, worn-out jeans, and canvas shoes. Fresh-faced, neat, the epitome of a poor college heartthrob. He even got off the bus instead of taking a taxi. I really don't know where he spends the $300,000 I give him every month. Don't get me wrong, he didn't come to see me. I usually go to him. He was working part-time at the coffee shop on the ground floor of my building. Even like this, he drew the attention of young female students asking for his contact info. Gavin refused, saying he already liked someone. Back then, I would have confidently thought that someone was me. After all, I'm beautiful, rich, and generous. The last part mattered the most. If he didn't like me but also didn't like money, what's the difference? We weren't meant to be head over heels in love. We're all adults. Taking this much from me and giving nothing in return is a little much. I walked in, found a spot, and sat casually. Gavin didn't notice me. At that moment, a well-dressed girl walked in. Gavin saw her immediately and froze with tension. She wore a Chanel-inspired outfit with a Miu Miu hair clip, the picture of a rich girl. I hadn't noticed her properly at the university last time. Now, I could see her face clearly. I ran through the elite circles of City A in my mind but couldn't place which era she was. While I was daydreaming, Gavin's face had already turned bright red. I heard him cautiously ask, "Are you here for me?" The girl lifted her chin. "No, I just heard the coffee here is good." If Gavin had a tail, it would have drooped right then. "Can you recommend something?" Gavin meticulously went through the menu, explaining each coffee's origin and taste. A few impatient people in line left. The girl seemed not to hear anything and just ordered the signature drink. Gavin even thoughtfully explained how to drink it, mentioning it might be a bit bitter. He was completely unlike the Gavin I saw at home, humble to the extreme. I wasn't angry, just puzzled. Why wasn't he like this with me? I'm supposed to be his client here. A moment later, I realized and laughed. He seemed to think that his youth was an equal exchange for the $300,000 I gave him each month, plus a furnished apartment and countless gifts. In our family, men have a tradition of being supported. I've seen female college students, actresses, and some professionals. A while ago, my uncle almost had a child with one, so he gave her $3 million as a breakup fee. A benefactor as generous and decent looking as me? Rare as hen's teeth. Mutual consent doesn't mean there's no advantage taken. I pampered Gavin, and for small sums like this, I didn't mind. He took the money but stood me up several times. Said he had tutoring, part-time jobs, student council duties, or lab work. I wasn't mad, even had my housekeeper make him soup. Once, I ran into my dad, and Gavin thought we were dating, so he gave me a little warning, don't fall for him. My indulgence made everyone think my feelings for Gavin were special. Funny, isn't it? I wasn't without such illusions myself. Before I kicked my brother abroad and took the GM position, I'd never dated anyone. Of course, I didn't want to. Bored, I stood and left the cafe. As I walked, the doorbell jingled. The person behind the counter seemed to glance my way. That evening, Sawyer arrived at my villa. Unexpectedly. His medical report showed him clean and healthy, no lumps, nothing wrong. Unlike the last time, when he wore big logo knockoffs, this time he dressed very simply. White t-shirt, jeans, sneakers. His previously styled hair hung a bit over his eyes, probably following Tessa's instructions to mimic Gavin's look. I frowned, but before I could speak, he had already taken off the t-shirt. 8-pack abs, perfectly defined. Whether real or not, I couldn't tell. He chuckled. Sis, you don't like me dressing like this, do you? I don't like it either. He still came over casually and touched my hand. I froze. It felt like some brawdy blonde punk had taken advantage of me, until he removed the hair tie from my wrist. He tied his mid-length hair back into a small knot. I exhaled in relief. Then he said, Sis, are you hungry? I'll feed you something. I almost lost the breath I'd just regained. He looked at the housekeeper leaving the kitchen with the trash bag and said regretfully, Looks like you've already eaten. I caught the undertone and hesitated, asking, You haven't eaten yet, do you? Want some? Before I finished, he said, Thanks. He even found an excuse for himself. I need to eat enough now so I can serve you later, sis. Then he served himself 3 bowls of noodles and devoured them like a starving ghost. I recalled his background information. Surely he could afford food. I said, There's steak in the fridge. Sawyer shook his head. No steak. I have to work first before I get paid. I understood. For a moment, I felt some satisfaction, reaffirming my decision. This was exactly the type who would focus on this meal wholeheartedly. Half an hour later, I regretted it. The fresh scent of shower gel surrounded me. The small unfamiliarness was replaced by heat, leaving me no room to think of anything else. Sawyer didn't forget to offer emotional value. Sis, you look amazing. I really lucked out. Sis, this is so great. I felt low, like I'd hired a long-term laborer in the village. Low, all the way until the next morning. Desperate, I asked, Did you eat something? What? Sawyer paused. 10 of them, just to make sure you enjoyed it. Forget it. He didn't eat. He was just putting on a show of service. Finally, at 2 in the afternoon, I pushed myself up. A meeting couldn't be postponed. I had to go to the office. While dressing, I heard Sawyer say, Sis, can you help me get into the entertainment industry? I paused mid-button and rolled my eyes with practiced patience. You've only come once, and you're asking for favors. 10 times, he corrected. I wasn't talking about that. After I refused, Sawyer's doll-like face immediately drooped. He scrunched his nose and complained, Sis, you said no first. His understanding, unbelievable. If I hadn't met him in college, I doubt he'd ever read a book. Not that it proves he even went to college. I asked Sawyer, Are you at a university? He honestly shook his head. No. I knew it. I casually promised, in a couple of years, I'll send you abroad to polish your skills. Sawyer hesitated. Sis, I don't want to study. I know, you just want to enter showbiz. I waved him off, signaling not to talk. I had a meeting to attend. I got into the car. Tessa was already waiting in. I glanced back. Sawyer was leaning on the balcony, waving goodbye. His messy hair and that innocent yet seductive face. The sunlight hit him like some Greek myth's Cupid. Also, no pants. Impressive. Sis, come back soon, okay? I massaged my forehead, wincing. No one can know I employ someone like this. I looked at the files, saying, Tessa, find a few spring limited pieces and send them to him. He wasn't meant to dress like Gavin's clean-cut type. If he spent all day in knockoffs, it made me look bad. Tessa blinked, then agreed. After the meeting, after dealing with a bunch of old farts, I collapsed into my office chair, exhausted. I hadn't felt this tired before, but today was different. Probably because I hadn't slept last night. My parents had an arranged marriage. They did their own thing. Their relationship was decent, otherwise, we wouldn't have 3 siblings. A clueless eldest brother, a romantic little sister, and the perfect me. From birth, my life had been planned. If I wanted more, I had to fight for it. And I had. But, is this really what I wanted? Sis. A chill on my backside. Before my existential reflection could continue, a head popped up from under the desk. What are you doing? Sawyer kissed my thigh. I stared at him expressionless. For the first time, his model-like face flushed. He was shy, yet said something shocking. I just learned this afternoon. I heard CEOs and secretaries like this kind of play. A self-conscious, ambitious little pretty boy. Sawyer thought I agreed. Outside, clouds swayed in the sky. I was speechless. Am I employing him, or is he employing me? He really does want to enter showbiz. 3 hours later, Tessa called on the internal line. Gavin's here. The sun must have risen in the west. Today was the day Gavin and I agreed to meet once a week. It wasn't strange that he came looking for me, but he often stood me up, and it was already 11 at night. I lit a cigarette and said into the phone, I don't have time to see him today. Tell him to go home. Tessa was silent for a moment, then said, That's exactly what I told Gavin. He insisted on waiting until you finished your work. He's in the meeting room right next to you. I frowned, about to respond, when a small face leaned in and inhaled a drag from my cigarette. Then, he started coughing violently. I hung up. Sis, you shouldn't smoke. Just when I thought Sawyer had suddenly switched tactics to start comforting me, he added, Smoke a cigar instead, it looks cooler. Ash fell onto the marble floor. I said, Go back first. I have some things to handle. Sawyer didn't ask any questions. He patted his rear and left. Gavin was brought in. The same white shirt and jeans as always. I was starting to get bored. He stood in front of me, voice tinged with accusation, Vivian, I've been fired. He seemed to think I had told the manager to let him go. After all, the coffee shop was mine. He had been earning $50,000 a month there as a student intern. I raised an eyebrow. So? Gavin's expression darkened. He still stood straight, fists clenched at his sides, voice sharp. Did someone at the shop say something to you? Quinn is just my junior. I was only doing what a normal staff member should do. You can't just fire me like that. You rich people are always so high and mighty. I interrupted, Fine, I'll rehire you at the coffee shop. Gavin's words caught in his throat. He hadn't expected me to be so reasonable. That's good. I smiled and continued, like any other intern, $3,000 a month. Are you willing? Gavin widened his eyes, as if insulted. He was silent for a few seconds. Vivian, stop messing around. I told you, Quinn and I aren't dating. A hint of impatience appeared in his eyes. I looked him over and suddenly noticed a rough, dull quality. His skin wasn't as smooth as Sawyer's, eyes not as bright, lips not as pink, nose not as high, legs not as long, abs not as firm. The skills weren't great either. Then again, Sawyer wasn't perfect either, but at least he was willing to learn. Quinn? The name sounded cute. I said it casually, and Gavin looked like he was facing an enemy. You're taking this out on me? She doesn't know anything. I suddenly found it funny. I asked on purpose, what do you think I'd do to her? Suddenly, Gavin's gaze froze on a spot. His expression went blank, ignoring what I had just said. I followed his eyes. On the Balafang sofa, a CK was quietly lying there, silently watching our conversation. As everyone knows, people laugh when they're speechless. Gavin finally looked at me. Then he saw the smile on my face. The same person who had seemed so distant and careful before suddenly walked right up to me. Vivian, are you really that desperate? Just because I didn't come to you for a month, you go to that kind of man? I wanted to say Sawyer isn't that kind of man, but I couldn't bring myself to say it. He is that kind of man. Gavin, the poor college heartthrob unafraid of authority, suddenly had red eyes. Do you know how dirty that kind of man is? His voice was loud. He grabbed my wrist, losing his composure for the first time. He seemed afraid I might actually catch something. A glass on the table shattered on the floor. There was a knock on the door. Tessa said, Do you want me to come in? Gavin kept babbling. Vivian, you don't need to humiliate yourself just to make me jealous. I called out, Come in. Tessa entered with 2 6'3" bodyguards. They positioned themselves on either side of Gavin, ready to stop him from acting impulsively. Gavin stared at me in disbelief. I looked at him with a half-smile. Who allowed you to have that attitude with me? As a benefactor, maybe I'd been too tolerant. Even he couldn't tell what our relationship was. Gavin's face turned pale. He never expected me to speak to him this way. He pressed his lips together. We're equals. I didn't even want to hear that. If we're so equal, why don't you give me $30,000 a month? Gavin was speechless. I raised an eyebrow. You take the money, you work properly. You didn't. He seemed shocked, having never heard me speak so bluntly. I ignored him and got up to leave. Gavin tried to follow, but the bodyguards blocked him. I walked quickly. Behind me, Tessa retrieved the card for my private elevator from Gavin and said, Gavin, next time, schedule an appointment before coming. I didn't buy Sawyer a house, because he simply refused to move out of my villa. 2 months later, I was lying there like a dead dog, completely drained. Sawyer lit a cigar for me. I said, I'll send you into the entertainment industry. But Sawyer, surprisingly, didn't look happy. He kissed me lightly, and I shivered out of instinct. "Thank you, sis," he said softly. "But there's no rush. I still want to stay with you for a few more days." I was the one who was anxious. If this went on, I might not survive it. Just 2 months ago, he couldn't wait to leave. That day, I gave him a card, 300,000 every month. Unexpectedly, Sawyer turned it down. "Sis, I don't want your money. I want you to send me to act." What a clever boy. He knew it was better to learn a skill than rely on others. And luck was on his side. He had me. The entertainment industry was deep water. Power, money, and status didn't always work there. But I'd been in the game for years. One of my companies was among the top 3 agencies in the business. I had told him then, "We'll see how you perform." Now, I regretted it. The cigar slipped from my fingers and rolled onto the carpet. When I bent down to pick it up, the blanket covering me slid off. A moment later, a warm hand replaced it. "Sis." Sawyer's eyes darkened, and he leaned down to kiss me again. I stopped him. He pouted, looking at me in confusion. I forced an awkward laugh, trying to change the subject. "Don't you have anything else to do?" He had been staying here for 2 whole months, either in the gym or in the home theater studying. I almost asked if he didn't need to go to school, then remembered he wasn't much of a student. After thinking for a few seconds, I found an excuse. "Your face, don't you need regular maintenance or something?" Sawyer rubbed his own face and said, "Sis, it's all real. You can touch and see." Before I could refuse, he grabbed my hand and placed it on his high nose bridge, then on his lips, then down to his chest and abs. I jerked my hand back. "I get it. All real. Definitely real." I understood now. He wasn't in a hurry to enter the entertainment industry. He was more interested in conquering me. No way. Even Tessa had started giving me strange looks lately. Her left cheek practically said, "He's your downfall." And her right cheek said, "You've lost control." I patted Sawyer's bicep. "I'll take you to meet some directors tonight." That evening, I introduced Sawyer to a romance drama director. The director was polite. "Your brother, right? I'll make sure to take good care of him." "How old are you now?" Sawyer said, "Second year of college." "Second year?" I was stunned. "That young?" Sawyer blinked playfully. "Not that young." Smooth. Way too smooth. I didn't expose his little exaggeration. Sawyer did a screen test on the spot. The director gave him a supporting role, the third male lead. The test scene was one where he confessed to the female lead in a hotel after falling for her. She rejected him and slapped him. He needed to play both desire and dominance. The script wasn't finalized yet, so the lines were improvised. I volunteered to stand in for the absent female lead. I sat on the sofa. Sawyer knelt by my feet. The director called, "Action." In an instant, the obedient, gentle boy disappeared. His eyes darkened like a storm. His Adam's apple moved as his long fingers brushed through my hair, turning my face toward him. Our eyes met. A faint, unreadable smile curved on his lips. "Do you really have to like him? Can't it be me instead?" I didn't need to say anything. I was supposed to play a silent prop. But Sawyer must have heard my refusal in silence. His jaw tensed, a cold smirk appearing. He leaned closer. "Vivian, I treat you better than he ever could, don't I? If you see him again, I'll lock you away." He cupped my face, jealousy flickering in his eyes that no performance could hide. The director said Sawyer's performance was mediocre. He overdid it. Instead of a domineering CEO, he came off like a homewrecker. But he was just too good looking, so it didn't really matter. The day before filming began, I locked him out of the door. "Sis, I want to repay you. Thanks for giving me this opportunity, letting me enter the entertainment industry." I said, "If you really want to repay me, give me some peace tonight." Sawyer pouted and whined, "But I'm leaving tomorrow, shooting out of town for 3 months. I won't see you again." He stubbornly refused to leave. I pretended not to hear him. Finally, silence outside. 3 hours later, I opened the door. Sawyer was leaning against the door with a pillow, almost falling over. The moment he saw me, he slipped inside. In no time, he was already lying on my bed. "Sis, I won't do anything. I'll just hold you and sleep." "Fine." I didn't expect him to actually keep his promise, yet he was surprisingly obedient. The next morning, the driver took Sawyer to the airport. Before leaving, he stuffed my nightgown into his luggage. I froze, half expecting something else. Sawyer planted a kiss on my forehead. "Sis, come visit me." I didn't answer, burying my head back into the pillow. A month later, I received a gift from Sawyer. Of course, I hadn't visited once during that month. We'd spoken briefly on the phone a few times, but I was too busy to talk more than a minute before hanging up. The gift was a small teddy bear. Colorful, childish, cheap-looking, a little ugly. It was the first gift I'd ever received from a lover. Gavin had never given me anything. On Valentine's Day, I had mentioned it. In a fancy restaurant, I had gifted Gavin a watch worth $1 million. Then asked him, "Do you have anything for me?" Gavin said, "Do I really need to?" "You don't lack anything," I said. His tone was a little off. Tessa later told me that Gavin's father had beaten his mother again recently, and she came to school asking for money. I understood his mood and didn't pursue his attitude. The teddy's eyes looked at me, just like Sawyer's. It pulled me out of my memories. The bear looked familiar, but I couldn't recall the brand at first. As I stared, a faint sense of guilt washed over me. I felt bad for not visiting the set. Just as I hesitated whether to go, I got a call from Gavin. Rare. Compared to Sawyer, who called 3 times a day, Gavin seldom initiated contact. I picked up but said nothing. Silence on the other end. Perhaps realizing I wouldn't speak, Gavin finally broke it. "I got your apology. Can we reconcile?" I didn't understand at first. Then I glanced at the calendar and it clicked. It was Gavin's birthday, and many luxury brands would send him gifts today. All arranged by me, of course. The restaurant from last time, I liked it. "We can go there tonight." Gavin paused, then continued, "A few seniors from the lab will come along as well." I interrupted. "I forgot to tell Tessa to cancel that." "What?" I said. "Consider those gifts a breakup settlement." Last time I saw Gavin, my mind had been a mess, and I hadn't explained clearly. I didn't have time for his games about breaking up and making up. Being with him hadn't been particularly enjoyable either. A total loss, really. But as a generous benefactor, what I had sent him, I wouldn't take back. Experience teaches wisdom. Next time I keep a kept boy, I won't be so generous, too generous, and people get carried away. Gavin seemed unable to accept what I said. "Vivian, are you still jealous? Or was it that guy interfering?" "I'm telling you, he's just after your money." I remembered. The fabric of that little bear. It was from Sawyer's favorite limited edition pajamas. He'd made it into a teddy? I picked it up, inspecting it carefully. The stitching was crooked, the knots poorly hidden. Could it really have been sewn by Sawyer himself? Interesting. Gavin kept talking, but I wasn't listening. I hung up and told Tessa to get ready. I was going to visit the set. The private jet landed. A car drove me straight to the studio. Perfect timing. Sawyer was filming a scene opposite the female lead. His gaze was full of intensity. He acted beautifully. The female lead seemed inexperienced, fidgeting 3 times while facing Sawyer's face, blushing, unable to look at him. Sawyer was patient, encouraging her to take her time. A staff member whispered beside me, "They're shipping it, they're shipping it." Sawyer turned and saw me. To be honest, Sawyer actually had quite a bit of acting talent. During that audition, I wasn't sure if he was holding back or what, but he brought a villainous CEO to life, vividly and convincingly, just like he played my little lover. Polished, sly, and with a faint trace of affection in his eyes. Perfectly aligned with my imagination. Sawyer pulled me into his car. I quickly found myself out of breath. When he panicked and started taking off his clothes, I kicked him. "Sis, are you using your foot?" I was speechless. Sometimes being too direct isn't a good thing. It takes away a bit of the blush and shyness. Sawyer seemed to notice my lack of enthusiasm and reluctantly put his clothes back on. "Why are you just coming to see me now?" he complained to me. 3 parts complaint, 3 parts pouting, 4 parts acting. "When did you arrive?" I asked. "Just when you said to the female lead, 'Can't you see I love you?'" Sawyer panicked. "You didn't see me hugging her?" "Sis, don't be mad, it's all acting. I even used a stunt double for the kissing scenes, it's all arranged." I lazily touched his face and asked, "Any more scenes today?" Sawyer shook his head quickly. "Seeing you here, I asked the director to push my scenes back. Not even a big star yet, and he was already playing the diva. I could already picture his half-successful, scandal-ridden future." Sawyer tested the waters. "So today, can I take you out, sis?" He massaged my feet while fussing over me. "Tired, sis? Want to watch a movie first?" So, like an ordinary young couple, Sawyer and I went to the movies. Tessa booked the entire theater. Then we went for a casual stroll. The bodyguard stayed about 100 meters behind. Later, we played golf. Finally, back in the suite, Sawyer helped me remove my makeup and shower. There wasn't much to remove, just some sunscreen. He didn't dare call me ugly. After all, he was on my money. This is the advantage of keeping someone versus dating. I could be completely myself, vent my moods on him, and not worry about his feelings. Sawyer hugged me from behind. "Sis, I want to." I closed my eyes. "I don't want to." He rubbed against my neck, whining. "Please, sis. It's been a month." I'm about to explode. I was so annoyed I could barely stand it. Just as I was about to faint, I suddenly realized this was starting to feel a little like being in a relationship. Not allowed. Maybe try a steel wool pad another day. Sawyer's drama finally aired. It flopped. Sawyer skyrocketed. Truly unexpected. Sawyer suddenly got busy, tons of press releases, appearances on variety shows. With that surgically perfect face, fans called it the bold featured style. Sawyer had a wild-looking face but dressed very prudently. Shirts buttoned all the way to the top. Hoodie zippers pulled all the way up. Professional team, professional packaging. Character, wealthy heir venturing into showbiz. Even now, no old classmates or former coworkers had come forward to expose him. I called Tessa, telling her to be ready to suppress any blackmail material about Sawyer. After work, I ran into Gavin. I scrutinized him. Clearly not a coincidence. Gavin looked exhausted, but his gaze was unusually gentle today. Vivian, I don't know why, but these past few months, I keep thinking about you. His ears flushed a little as he spoke. I knew why. I recalled the files I had received. Quinn was Gavin's junior lab colleague. When Tessa reported it, I had been a little puzzled. This wasn't ancient times. Why the specific direct junior designation? I had just returned from studying abroad, unfamiliar with such clique-filled academic culture. Gavin's lab mates were heavily exploited. Quinn was there too, often asking Gavin for help. Over time, they became familiar, but not flirty. Until last Valentine's Day, Quinn suddenly took an interest in Gavin. Unlike me, throwing money at him, or my sister Lacey, confessing directly, Quinn was skilled at pursuing someone. Tessa even mentioned she'd pay for a crush pursuit course. I had signed Lacey up too. Pure-hearted, but never successful, she probably needed it. I didn't understand why Quinn suddenly liked Gavin, until I saw the Rolex ice blue he was wearing, the exact one I had gifted him last Valentine's Day. Quinn had fished successfully. Gavin spent quite a bit of my money on her. I laughed with anger. Since Gavin and I broke up, brands no longer sent him seasonal gifts on time. Much of the money he got from me went straight to paying off his family debts. Many luxury clothes he had long given away. To his roommates, classmates, lab peers, especially Quinn. When he was with me, he was used to these gifts, but disdained them, seeing them as capitalist traps with no real value. How he disposed of what I gave him didn't matter to me, but knowing the details left me speechless for a few seconds. Now, Gavin stood before me. His skin looked rougher, duller, and his eyebrows less refined. He carried the heavy scent of work and labor, like a servant. Why on earth had I ever liked Gavin? I tried to recall. Back then, I had been in a bitter struggle with my elder brother. Dad supported my brother, Mom stayed neutral. Only Lacey supported me. Her support didn't help much. I had been overworking, with my stomach bleeding, when I encountered Gavin delivering food. He didn't hesitate, dropped his work and took me to the nearby hospital. Leaning against his back, I smelled the savory rice porridge with preserved egg. Tessa gave Gavin a small gratitude bonus. 2 years later, I became general manager, the sole heir of the company. One night, craving preserved egg porridge, I remembered Gavin. The next day, he appeared at the villa as my tutor. At the time, Lacey had been crying at my house for a month over a breakup. She pushed me, teasing, bossy CEO and poor campus prince, go for it, sis. But I had never dated before. I didn't want to struggle for romance like Lacey. I preferred a more business-like approach. I approached Gavin. At first, to protect his pride, I funded him under the guise of a scholarship. Also arranged another tutoring job for $100K/month, teaching Lacey calculus. Later, Lacey ran off, and it became $300K/month directly to his account. When he accepted the card, he looked embarrassed. I thoughtfully changed the topic. Now, with the dirty money gone, Gavin felt uncomfortable, so he started thinking of me. That's simple. I smiled at him. You're not missing me. You're missing my money. Humiliation flashed in his eyes. Vivian, why are you humiliating me like this? Originally, it wasn't me begging you. You came to me, wanting to be with me. I never asked you to do anything. I raised an eyebrow. Do you need me to apologize? Gavin froze, eyes wide, voice cut off mid-sentence. He stared at me blankly, then let out a bitter laugh. Vivian, do you know? Only I, not your money, loved you. Before leaving, Gavin tossed a photo in front of me. In the photo, Sawyer was walking into a club with a woman wearing a mink coat. I had Tessa message Gavin, $5 million to buy the photo outright. Gavin replied, why are you still cleaning up his mess? I flicked off the ash from my cigarette. I already knew what kind of person Sawyer was. Just a kept relationship. He treated me well. Who he had been with before didn't matter to me. But Gavin couldn't accept it. He blocked Tessa. The photo went online the next day. It spread like wildfire. Sawyer had just become popular. Fans said he had taken a bite out of many rising stars' cake. Whenever a scandal appeared, his fan army came rushing to defend him. When Sawyer returned, I was cooking steak. Butter sizzling. The range had barely made a sound. The Maillard reaction looked delicious. The aroma of seared meat filled my nose. Sawyer seemed aware he'd made a mistake. He circled behind me, resting his head on my shoulder like a little dog. "Sis, did you see?" My breath caught. I had doubted the authenticity of that photo. But Tessa had checked. No signs of Photoshop. Tracing the source, it came in an envelope Gavin had received one day. Sawyer had told me I was his first patron. And the first time he was technically bad, which was reassuring. Tessa had also checked his past to some extent. 18 small towns away, I didn't have her fly over for such a minor thing. But after Sawyer arrived in City A, he had only fed from me. So I didn't fully believe it. Maybe a misunderstanding. Until now. Sawyer spoke nervously. "Sis, I didn't mean to lie to you." It was true. He had really lied. I wasn't actually his first patron. I took a deep breath, calming myself. "Let's eat first." I stepped out of Sawyer's arms. He froze, still holding them in the air. "Sis, are you upset?" I shook my head. "No, just, feels a bit dirty." Sawyer's pupils constricted. He stared blankly. "Sis, what did you say?" I calmly cut my steak. I've already asked Tessa to handle the online rumors. After 2 bites, on the third, Sawyer picked me up onto his shoulder. I nearly spit out my food. "Sis, how can you say I'm dirty? How can you do this?" His voice trembled, but he didn't relent, carrying me upstairs. "I'm different from others. I've always been clean, never attended those parties. Sawyer." I snapped, interrupting him. "Put me down." Sawyer didn't move. "Don't make me say it twice." He sniffled but insisted, carrying me into the bedroom and placing me on the bed. Slap. I raised my hand and slapped him. He froze, then pressed against my hand. "Sis, does your hand hurt? If yours hurts, I'll blow on it for you." The face hyped up by marketing accounts now bore a red mark, his peach blossom eyes sparkling with little tears. I was certain, if I ended things with him the next second, he'd find a new patron immediately. "Sis, last time you asked, I checked with Tessa, what exactly is that medicine? I bought it. I've already taken 2 pills. As he spoke, he took off his hoodie, tossing it on the floor. I kicked his abs. "I'm eating first." Suppressing my anger, I said, "I'm hungry." Sawyer's face fell. He studied my expression, then slumped onto the edge of the bed. "All right, sis. I'll wait." I went downstairs to eat alone. Today's steak wasn't as good as yesterday's. Still flown in from Australia early morning. But the flavor, just off. I thought of times when Gavin had stood me up. I hadn't gotten mad before, I was busy. But today, I was angry. I had indulged Gavin repeatedly. Now, with Sawyer, should I indulge him too? Suddenly, I got a message from Lacey. 3 voice notes, sent one after another, urgent. "Mom arranged a marriage for me. Sis, I don't want to marry a stranger. I don't want a life with only money and no love. I don't want to be a puppet in a wealthy family, losing myself, becoming a walking corpse." I ignored them. The notes kept coming, 60 seconds each. I didn't listen. I finished work in the study. It was almost 10 at night when I returned to the bedroom. On the bed was a large, bulging lump. It twitched. I looked closer. Sawyer was curled into a ball, trembling. He turned to me, face scrunched up like a little dumpling. Nose running, tears mixed with them, but it couldn't hide his striking features. If someone photographed him like this, it would silence the haters claiming he was surgically enhanced. I patted his fuzzy head. Sawyer climbed onto me, hugging me tight. I pushed his head away. He insisted on kissing me, trying to pull off my pants. Crying, he worked diligently, putting in extra effort. The next morning, I smoked, watching Sawyer sleep from exhaustion. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows was a small lush grove. The sunrise hadn't peeked out yet. Birds chirping incessantly gave me a headache. "Sis." I glanced down. He was asleep, mumbling in his dreams. "Sis." I leaned closer, curious. "Feels good." I got up for a morning run, unaware that Sawyer had turned and mumbled again. "Sis, I love you." A month later, just after a meeting, Tessa's insider call came in. "Sawyer." I frowned. "Didn't you take back his elevator card?" Tessa's voice trembled. "I did, but Sawyer seems to have made several copies. Have the bodyguards throw him out. He's at your door already." My head hurt. Next moment, Sawyer walked in. If it weren't for his miserable expression, the 2 steps he took would have looked good. He had clearly dressed up, styled his hair, shaved clean. Before he could speak, I rapped on the table. "Not satisfied with compensation?" Sawyer smiled. Sis, do you really see me as that kind of person? I said nothing. What did I do wrong? Where? I didn't know. A month ago, that morning, after a run, sleepy Sawyer tried to kiss me. I broke up with him. Sawyer instantly sobered. Sis, was I bad last night? I shook my head. I'm just tired of it, Sawyer. Sawyer froze. His playful grip on my fingers paused. I left him a message. Tessa will contact you, and walked away. Sawyer came to find me several times later. I knew he didn't want to. He asked why. That morning, after my run, I simply didn't want it anymore. No need for whys. It wasn't a relationship. Breakups could be abrupt. I just wanted a change. I looked at him. So handsome. Even better after a professional team polished him up. Like a hybrid. I didn't want it to get ugly. Sawyer, I chose you because you were clearer-headed than Gavin. After I said that, Sawyer was silent. You're smart. Take the money and go. Peaceful parting. What if I don't? Sawyer suddenly stepped closer. The familiar scent of body wash. Sweet. Refreshing. I resisted smelling it too closely. The moment he leaned in to kiss, I slapped him. Who allowed you to kiss me? Sawyer, know your place. Sawyer laughed. He kissed me again, laughing, lips tangled, saliva stretching. Afterwards, he left without a backward glance, leaving me sitting there, stunned. Lacey brought her broke boyfriend to my villa. Even though he's unemployed now, he's impressive. Given the current situation, you can't really blame him. Then, they acted lovey-dovey in my villa, breaking up and making up repeatedly. Yes, this man still dared to be restless. Lacey punched and kicked him. The front passenger seat is mine. Can't you tell what your junior is thinking? In the end, they made up. I chuckled. A few days later, they broke up again. Lacey's eyes were swollen from crying. This time it's really over. I didn't believe her. Really, this time it's true. I caught him hugging another woman. I said nothing. Sis, I'm going home for the arranged marriage. I put down my files, puzzled. Your fiancé not only kisses other women but sleeps with them. Can you tolerate that? Lacey nodded without hesitation. Yes, I don't even like him. Sis, you spilled your coffee. Sis, are you okay? I snapped back to reality. Coffee had spilled on an ugly little teddy bear. That night, I scrolled through news of Sawyer and a top female celebrity. They were entering and exiting the same apartment building. I turned off my phone. I didn't want to see it. I finally understood. Why could I tolerate Gavin being flirtatious with other women, but not Sawyer having patrons? Why didn't I want to continue with Sawyer? Because I actually wanted to be with him, but realizing this didn't help. He treated me as a patron, I treated him as a partner. If I said it out loud, it would be ridiculous. I, Vivian, couldn't afford to lose face. Lacey went out to call mom and returned looking unhappy. I can't believe it. The fiancé mom arranged, just sounds like a player. Dropped out of college halfway to chase a career in entertainment. Family didn't support him, so he latched onto a rich woman. And I'm supposed to marry him? Most of the family business is overseas. The domestic part isn't even in City A. I didn't really know him. I didn't know how mom arranged it. The previous arranged fiancé wasn't him. The next day, I went with Lacey to a blind date. At a high-end restaurant, I saw Sawyer. He was standing next to a woman in a fur coat. Mom said, "This is Lance." My smile froze. Lacey's eyes lit up, her face turning red. She tugged my sleeve. "Isn't this the popular guy? He's all over the news." Humph, just as I thought. Looks like trouble already. Sis, why are you leaving? I turned and walked away. I'll step out for a smoke. When I returned, Lacey and Lance were chatting happily. Mom had already left. Lacey was pleased. Sis, Lance seems nice. She introduced me. This is my sister. Call her sis from now on. Lance smiled politely, distant but formal. Sis, he said. My chest tightened. A strange feeling. I'll go to the restroom. I saw a familiar silhouette in the restroom mirror. Lance strolled over casually, wearing an off-white sweater, relaxed style. Sapphire studs glinted in his earlobes. He exuded old money vibes, spending big to look effortless. Sis, long time no see. I'm going to be your brother-in-law. Excited? I didn't answer. As I brushed past, Lance grabbed my wrist. Sis, why aren't you answering? I restrained my anger. What do you want me to say? Lance chuckled lightly, then changed the topic. Did I act well before? Obedient little lover. I sneered. Not bad. Is it because I acted too well that you thought you could just discard me? His narrow eyes squinted. Hands rubbed my wrist. The familiar touch made my heart flutter. Just as I was about to lose control, he stepped back, giving me space. Sis, remember to call me brother-in-law from now on. The incense in the restroom made my head spin. I glanced at Lance and said, no need to wait. I can call you that now, brother-in-law. Lance's expression remained calm but dark, jaw tight. The moment I turned to leave, someone pulled me into their arms. Lance nuzzled my neck, whining softly. Ha, do you think I care about you? Brother-in-law, you're biting too hard. Lance stiffened, then pressed harder. I shoved him away. Lance grabbed my waist. Don't think I'm soft on you. I just want revenge. Do you think I still like you? My phone slipped from my pocket. Just then, Lacey sent a voice message. Sis, I won't bother you and brother-in-law anymore. I'm leaving. He's pursuing you but asked me to keep it secret. Make sure you say it's me who told you. Lance froze under me, an awkward expression flashing across his face. My phone rang. It was a housemaid. Your handmade teddy. When I washed it, something fell out. Lance tried to press my phone. Don't listen. It's a diamond ring, and a pink note, like a love letter. Should I throw it away? I glanced at Lance. His face flushed. After a moment, he gave up and kissed me. Sis, don't throw it away. After hanging up, I looked at Lance. He puffed his cheeks, slightly annoyed. You found out everything. I wanted to play a little chase the husband game with you. Impossible. I had a reputation. I couldn't lose face. Lance seemed to notice my thoughts, slightly annoyed. Sis, I'm going to punish you. I nodded obediently. Okay. He probably wouldn't dare to do much. Lance smiled meaningfully. Sis, I have a suite on the 38th floor. And then, I didn't see the sun for 3 days.